I feel like there's always fans that say we wanted more. Yankee fans felt they needed help behind the plate. Braves fans felt they left themselves vulnerable without another arm. What do you say to those comments?
Well, I think it's somewhat fair. The Braves and the Yankees did not get their top targets. That said, the Braves have won 7 in a row. As is, they're doing very, very well. They did get Lane Thomas. They got Tyler Mahle. They certainly improved, but their top targets were obviously, as we look back on it, DeGrom and Skubal. They didn't match up for Skubal. They had a deal in place for DeGrom. He decided he wanted to stay in Texas. I think the Braves and other people were a bit surprised by this because obviously the Braves are in first place, although Texas right now is in playoff position, believe it or not. And he obviously likes it there very much. And, you can't get inside someone's head. And he wanted to stay. He has that prerogative, full no trade. But it was interesting that Braves were willing to take on a $38 million a year player and didn't quite do it. The Yankees, they tried for some big pieces. I don't know if they came close on Rutschman, but they made several attempts. And that was one they probably could have done. There was a deal in play where they could have done it without Lombard. And everybody else was asking for Lombard, and it wasn't going to be possible to get Miller, who didn't go anywhere anyway. It wasn't going to be possible to get Goodman, who didn't go anywhere anyway, without Lombard. That's the guy that everybody wanted. But the Yankees did come up with, obviously, Garcia and with Elliot Ramos, two pieces that will help them. But I think they were hurt by the fact that there wasn't a great market for relief pitching, wasn't a great market for right-handed bats, and there wasn't really a great market for catching. So it was a difficult situation, so they improved the offense, which needed it, and they did the best they could. And both teams are still excellent, and, I'm sure they have some feelings like, well, maybe we could have done this or that, but I think they did pretty well in the game.
Fans are always going to want more, perhaps maybe not Dodger fans. I love what Andrew Friedman said after acquiring Tarek. He said, anytime there's a player who shifts championship odds, I felt like that was awesome said, we want him. Do you feel like they needed him? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was a great move. That's my number one move and why I put the Dodgers at the top. Certainly, I think they were the favorite anyway. Now they're a bigger favorite. There were many reasons to get them. One, now we can see they want the bye, right? They didn't get the bye last year. Now the Braves are a half game ahead of them, believe it or not. And that's certainly important. The other reason is they kept him away from Milwaukee, right? Milwaukee's got the Miz. You've got Skubal with the Miz. That certainly changes the odds. They kept him away from the other NL teams that showed interest as well, the Braves, the Phillies, and the Cubs. So there were a lot of good reasons. They certainly can afford it, and they had the best prospects. They gave up a very good one in Zaire Hope, but they had 9 top 100 prospects. So certainly they can afford to do whatever they want, and they did the right thing here.
It's going to be fascinating to see which star in that rotation can pitch out of the bullpen in October. We've seen it before. The Cubs needed arms, and arms they got. I was watching Craig Counsell the other day with his new weapons and the way this offense is performing. They have our attention on the north side.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a great lineup and probably the best defense in baseball. They needed pitching, and they went out and got it in spades. They did a great job, from what I think. Gausman and Holmes are the type of pitchers that they would like to get. I think they're both very good playoff starters. Holmes had a 2.3 ERA with the Mets in his 9 starts before, unfortunately, a break in the leg. He is back now in rehab, throwing well, and so he'll be ready to go very, very soon. Gausman obviously was very good last year in the playoffs. He's a playoff starter. And you know what? I like a little bit under the radar, a lot under the radar. Braxton Garrett is a guy with potential at a sub-3 ERA for Jacksonville AAA with the Marlins. Marlins just didn't have room for him. They also got one of the relievers. The relief market was really thin, so they got one of the 5 or 6 relievers that really could help, and that's Zephyr John, who is a big, big arm. And I love Taylor. He came in, he played yesterday for the Cubs and did well. I think they did great. I really liked what the Cubs did.
What about the Padres? We were talking about San Diego the other day. AJ always gives them a chance to win. It's confidence in the guys in the building, and now they go. What was your takeaway?
Well, they looked like a bubble team with a week to go, right? And they started winning, and you know that AJ Preller wants to go for it. They have new ownership, and ultimately they didn't trade Miller, they didn't trade Morhone, and they got 2 very good starters in Robbie Ray and Casey Mize. Now, Mize didn't have a great debut, debut with the Padres last night, but he came in with a 2.7 ERA and a whip below 1. And certainly Robbie Ray, former Cy Young winner, that's another great addition. I don't really know how they hung in there with the starting pitching that they did have that was healthy. They did hang in there enough to go out and acquire 2 starting pitchers, and they're hopeful that Pivetta and Musgrove will be back at some point, and then at that point, they'll have great starting pitching.
Yeah, guys in that clubhouse, I think about that, have to feel encouraged that there's confidence in the guys in the building. I see the Brewers on this list. I think it's interesting that we always have feelings that they don't go after the big fish, but they've had success not doing that. Can they do both? When you look back at their trade deadline, what stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, the one disappointment, obviously, they got Skubal, and they tried hard, and then they did offer Pena, who was comparable to Hope, at least on the public lists, and they offered 2 other big prospects. So they made an effort, which, that's not something they usually do. They did do that with Sabathia when they really need to establish credibility, and that worked out fantastic for them. That is unfortunate for them, but I like the moves that they did make. They improved the bullpen with Romero and Senzatella. They improved the rotation with Dustin May. And, they're playing better than anybody over the full year right now. Boston's playing the best in Atlanta, but over the year, the Brewers are playing the best. They did that last year. They now have the Miz going full bore, and certainly Harrison looked really good last night. So I think they've got a legit shot. Now, the one disappointment, of course, is not getting Skubal.
Mm-hmm. I feel like their deadline looked how we thought it would. Can you say the same about the Rays? When Liam Hicks went over there and he had a grand slam in his first game there, I thought, here we go with the Rays. How did their deadline look compared to what you thought it was going to be?
Right. Again, the one disappointment is not getting Skubal. These small market teams don't love to trade their prospects. They did make an effort.
Was it an effort like the Brewers made?
No, I think the Brewers made the bigger effort. It felt like the Brewers might have been second, maybe the Yankees were third, but we're just kind of piecing it together at the end. But they did make an effort. But again, it's very difficult for these small market teams to give up all the prospects that it takes to get a Skubal, a rental. So I get it. I understand why they didn't do it. And obviously Hicks is quite a good hitter. So that's a big plus for them. They added Wells, who was one of the 5 or 6 really good relievers that were out there. That was another good move. And they feel like they can turn Freddie Peralta around. I think Peralta eventually will be turned around, and Kyle Snyder is an incredible pitching coach. If he does it now, this quickly, on the fly, it would be quite a coup, because we know that Freddie Peralta is a good pitcher, and he will be back at some point. But to do it right away, it's a little bit of a gamble, I think. But overall, I thought they did very well with all the pieces that they got.
Rosters are complete. Let's see where they go.